Hello, it's Nick here from Vegans Be the Change. And I just want to do a quick special Facebook Live broadcast about something that really inspired me. Since I've been scanning the press about all things vegan and the way that that's developing as we proceed, I came across something that really struck me last week, that really inspired and moved me. And it was a one-page obituary in the Times last week. There it is. It's an entire page, oops, sorry, getting wrong in front of the cameras, concerning a lady called Polly Higgins. And I hadn't really come across her until comparatively recently. And she was a 50-year-old crusading lawyer who sadly passed away way too young. And she'd had a traditional job, traditional career. And then she had a Damascus moment where her whole thinking changed, and she realized that the earth, the planet, needed help and protection. I mean, that's a realization that I came to when I joined the Green Movement in the 1980s, and I'm sure many of you have too. But one thing I didn't do, which is what she did, was to give up my job, sell my home, and devote myself to this epiphany, which she did. It's a remarkable story. And she campaigned relentlessly to introduce in law a duty of care to nature, for that to be inserted into international law, and to protect the public from dangerous industrial practices. And she argued it's pointless trying to imprison a company, because after all it's a piece of paper, but actually it's people, it's chief executives, it's negligent individuals that cause the problems of negligent oil spills and doing careless things, whether it be in the Arctic or wherever it might be. And she campaigned for this crime called ecocide to be introduced into the statutes of the International Criminal Court, the ICC. And she realized subsequently that actually this crime had been drafted in the original statements of the court that established the court, the ICC, but that had been dropped in as they got towards the final drafts. That wording was quietly dropped, and so that's missing. And it's described. She described it as the missing international crime of our time. So why is that relevant to us, you might ask? Obviously, people concerned about veganism and treating animals well, there's a very strong and natural inclination to link with environmentalism. It's a very natural and strong link, that feeling, that sense of harmony with nature. And I often think about this and what this is engaged in as being, I sometimes think of it as activism of the stomach, and that the daily choices that we make about food, they really do make a difference. Now, I know that veganism is a great deal more than just about what one puts in one's stomach, but every conversation one has, every stand one makes reverberates outwards. I had a conversation with the bakery at Morrison's and last week, my local supermarket, and I was talking to the delicatessen counter, and they're bringing in changes. They have to, and they're doing that. I took my children to the cafe at Morrison's, and since I was last there, there's now a couple of vegan options. And that's new, literally in the last few weeks. So I think we're beginning to see the coming obsolescence of the meat industry. I see it clearly in everything that I do, all the things that I scan in the press. And so I just think that that daily action and the commitment to one's values has such an important effect. We don't need to, like Polly Higgins did, sell our homes and go off and just totally devote ourselves to this. And she was a pioneer, and she's been celebrated as the planet's lawyer and hailed by the Ecologist magazine and as one of the world's top 10 visionary thinkers. And the politics of veganism is very visionary too. It's about ending brutal suffering. It's about increasing that sense of harmony with nature and about bringing about better health too. And it is very radical. Polly was really radical. I mean, she was way out there. She, even the kind of the NGOs that you'd think would rush to support people like her, even they found her just a little bit too weird, a bit too far out there. And, you know, I felt that way when I was a vegetarian living in Paris in the 1980s. They thought I was completely, the French thought I was mad. But the times, they are changing now. They really are. And, you know, Polly lived in Stroud, and she was, that's the spiritual home of the Extinction Rebellion movement. And she helped pioneer a defense for activists in that kind of field, to use the defense of the conscientious protector. And what that means is the sense that, yes, these people, the Extinction Rebellion, they're engaging in civil disobedience. And in that, they can't be guilty when they're trying to help the ecosystem on which we all depend, and that therefore that cannot be a crime. And that was the logic of the defense that she was encouraging those people to take on. And as the numbers of the people who simply refuse to eat meat and refuse to take dairy, they are effectively rejecting the farming industry, the way it's been and the way diet has been since time immemorial. I mean, it's certainly been that my whole life, pretty much. I mean, just because the diet and farming system's been like that, it seems forever, doesn't make it right. I mean, I've only relatively recently discovered the full horrors of what the dairy industry is up to. I actually hadn't known that until quite recently. And once you do know that, there is no going back. And I think of Polly, and I'm really inspired by her taking a stand and really going totally in that and just standing up for what she believed. And, you know, not many lawyers get a one-page obituary in the Times. I mean, even the top lawyers, you know, when they pass on, if they get a third of a page, that's one thing. She was a radical thinker. She thought outside the box. She took a stand for what she thought was right. And I do believe that ultimately, when one takes a stand in one's life about what's right, that the reverberations really do trickle out there. I found reading about her extremely, extremely inspiring. So I hope you get something from that, and just something from that short appreciation. It makes me think of Gandhi's famous quote that, you know, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And as I scan the press, I see a lot of laughing at vegans. It's everywhere. But, you know, that's the way it is. So I hope you find that useful and inspiring on some level. And Polly's dying wish was that people should sign up to support ecocide being put onto the International Statute Book. And if you'd like to sign up, it's at www.stopecocide.earth. Thanks very much.